Well, hello everybody, welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make some soda bread. I've never made this before, but I've always been fascinated about how it might taste, and I've checked various recipes and they all seem to be pretty much the same, but two or three of them add a little bit of butter and an egg. The egg helps to bind it apparently, so I've decided I'm going to do that with mine, and I'm also going to add a teaspoon of sugar, which none of the other recipes seem to do, but that's just to give just the tiniest hint, I think, of sweetness to the bread. So it's quite straightforward. You don't have to do much kneading. There's no yeast in it. It's baking soda as the leavening agent, so it's very simple to make. And we'll go on to, well, first I should say that I have my oven preheating at 215 Celsius, that's 205 Celsius with a fan, 425 Fahrenheit, and we will start baking at that temperature, and then we'll turn the oven down part way through. I also have a baking sheet or baking tray, and I've just put a disc of parchment paper on. That's large enough for the dough to go on, but lined with parchment paper or with a little bit of flour. So for the ingredients, I have 265 grams, which is 1 3/4 cups plus 2 tablespoons of wholemeal flour. Now if you don't want to use wholemeal flour, then you can use all plain or all-purpose flour instead. I wouldn't recommend using all wholemeal flour. The loaf will be much too dense in my opinion. So I have 265 grams of the wholemeal flour, another 265 grams, 1 3/4 cups plus 2 tablespoons of plain flour. I have my teaspoon of sugar, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of baking soda. I have 30 grams, which is just over 2 tablespoons of cold butter, and I have 1 medium egg. That would be large in the USA. I also have 400 millilitres, which is 1 2/3 cups of buttermilk, or in my case this is milk with 2 tablespoons of lemon juice in it, and I've left it for 30 minutes or so, but I mean after 10 minutes it's good enough. The lemon juice curdles the milk and makes it a very good substitute for buttermilk, so that will be fine. So we'll go on to mixing everything, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all the dry ingredients into this larger bowl. I'm just going to give that a mix round. You can do this with your hand, of course. And then I'm going to put my butter in, and I'm going to rub it between my fingers until it's all worked into the flours. And I don't have any lumps of butter left. So that's worked in quite nicely. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a well in the centre. I'm going to pour in most of the buttermilk. I'll see how it goes, and the egg. And then I'm going to quickly mix that around to get it into a dough. Again, you can use your hand for this, and I will do in a moment. And that dough is reasonably well mixed. So I'm actually going to put that onto my work surface with some extra flour, and I'm going to work that until it all is in a nice ball. Like that. And then I'm going to take my baking tray and I'm going to put that on the baking tray. And press it down. Like that. And I'm going to take a knife and I'm going to score a cross in it. Just like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to brush mine with some egg. Sorry, no, not some egg, some milk, sorry. Just so that it gives it a nice brown colour on the top. You don't have to do that. And this loaf should turn out quite brown because of the whole wheat. If you use simply all-purpose or plain flour instead of any whole wheat at all, the loaf will be lighter in colour, but it will still be very tasty. And with that brushed with the milk like that, I'm going to put it into my preheated oven and I'm going to bake it for 15 minutes. Then after 15 minutes I'm going to turn the temperature down to 200 Celsius, 180 Celsius with a fan, 400 Fahrenheit, and I'm going to bake it for a further 30 minutes. It should turn a nice brown colour, and if I was to take it out and tap the bottom, it should sound hollow, so it should go nice and crusty and sound hollow. And as soon as I take it out of the oven, I'm going to come back and show you what it looks like, because I want to tell you what I'm going to do next. The soda bread has cooked, so I cooked it at the one temperature for 15 minutes and then the second temperature for 30 minutes, and I've taken it out of the oven. This is what it looks like. It's very, very hot, but if I turn it on its side and tap the bottom, that feels nice and hollow. And I've actually checked the internal temperature and mine reached 100 Celsius, which is 212 Fahrenheit. I think it would have been cooked at 205 Fahrenheit. But that's it. Now you could just leave that to cool down like that, and you'll have a nice crunchy or crisp exterior and a soft interior. But I'm actually going to take a clean towel and I'm going to wrap it in the clean towel like that, and I'm going to let it cool down like that. That should soften the crust a little bit, and the reason I'm going to do that is that I prefer my crust to be soft and chewy rather than hard and that would scrape the inside of my mouth. So I'll let that cool down, then I'll come back and we'll cut it and have a taste of it. The soda bread loaf has cooled down quite a bit. It's still warm, but I want to taste it while it's warm. This is it, and I'm actually going to break it in half like that, and then I'm going to well, I break this one in half if I can, like that, and then I'll just try to cut the slice. So you can see that it's sort of certainly denser than most loaves, but it would be because of the wholemeal flour. But it looks nicely baked, so I'm going to put some butter onto it. I think this is probably the sort of bread that I would love to eat when I'm having some soup or something. So then I'll have a taste. It's certainly baked through. It has a nice soft texture on the inside, and the crust is firm. Mine is slightly softer than it would be because I wrapped it in the towel as it was cooling down. But I like that texture of the soft inside, and mine has a slightly, you might almost call it a nutty flavour from the wholemeal flour. I'm sure it would be perfectly good with just plain flour or all-purpose flour instead of a mixture with the wholemeal. So that's going to be it for this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, give me the thumbs up below the video and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to this recipe, and I'll also put a link to it below the video as well, and I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.